The synagogue president was an avid golfer and played at every opportunity. One Rosh Hashanah, he thought to himself, what's it going to hurt if I go out during the break between Shacharit and Musaf, Mincha, Mariv, and play a quick round of golf, maybe even just 9 holes. Nobody will be the wiser, and I'll be back in time for services in the evening. Sure enough, at the conclusion of the morning service, he quickly snuck out of the synagogue and headed straight for the golf course, even changing his clothes in the car when he got to the course. Up in heaven, Moses and God were looking down upon the scene. Moses was incensed. He said to God, "Look how terrible, a Jew on Rosh Hashanah playing golf, and a synagogue president, no less." God replied, "Watch this. I'm going to teach him a lesson." Out on the golf course, the synagogue president stepped up to the first tee. When he hit the ball, it careened off a tree, struck a rock, skipped across a pond, and landed in the hole for a hole-in-one. Seeing all of this, Moses protested, "God, this is how you're going to teach him a lesson? He's playing golf on Rosh Hashanah, and he just made a ridiculous hole-in-one." "Sure," said God, "but who's he going to tell?" Now, as my wife will attest, I am not, nor do I ever aspire to be, a golfer. I much prefer to sit on the beach, read a book, or on a good day, maybe go on a hike with Stacy. But this joke did get me thinking about the reasons underlying the things we do and say, and how much of that is driven by what we want the rest of the world to see. More specifically, what we want our community, our friends, and our children to see. The decisions we make and the actions we take, and in some cases, those we don't take, are undoubtedly rooted, at least in part, in that motivation. Over the course of our lives, the sum of these choices becomes our legacy. As I completed my first year of my term, my first year of my term in June, I couldn't help but reflect on what I'm hoping my legacy and our congregation's legacy will be, even more so as we navigate our new normal. Will it be that we remain focused on trying to return to how things used to be? Will it be that we unquestionably held on to the status quo? Or will it be that we innovated, evolved, and flourished when other congregations struggled? I expect I'm not alone in wishing for us that legacy of success. But how exactly do each of you, and more importantly, we as a congregation, go about doing that? What do we want our legacy to be? To begin answering that together, let's look at a few recent examples of how we've cultivated TBS's legacy in just the last couple years. This summer, for example, we reached a critical milestone. The synagogue paid off its mortgage of this building. Oh, there's some murmuring over here. Yes. Through a combination of funds from our last capital campaign, the generosity of congregants who funded a reduction of the mortgage principal, and the foresight and responsible management of our lay and professional leaders, we were able to do this 8 months ahead of schedule. This reduced our financing expenses and now allows us to allocate more resources towards staff, programs, and initiatives that further our mission. There are not many synagogues that have accomplished this, and it's something of which all of us should be proud. But what about our legacies as individual members of TBS? Each of you has contributed to this in your own way by sharing your ideas, your time, and your resources. Here are just a few examples. First, let's start with some of those who shared innovative ideas to help create our legacy. Just a few years ago, Terry and Zach Oppenheimer formed our now thriving Social Advocacy Committee, which works to educate, engage, and empower members of the TBS community to advocate and act in support of social issues that are aligned to our Jewish values. And last week, under the leadership of Rachel Kaufman, Valerie Yasner, and the TBS Sustainability Committee, our board adopted a resolution to have TBS join Hazon's Jewish Climate Leadership Coalition. Hazon is the largest faith-based environmental organization in the U.S., and its Jewish Climate Leadership Coalition is a network of Jewish community organizations working together to develop climate action plans. Second, a few examples of those in our TBS community who have shared their time and energies to help build our legacy. The Social Action Committee's Cook for a Friend program, led by Stu Sklar, provides complete meals for those in need in South Jersey. In a typical year, the program makes, here in our TBS kitchen, around 1,200 kosher meals delivered through a network of food pantries. While demand for meals and the cost of food soared, our Cook for a Friend volunteers stepped up to meet the need, preparing almost 1,600 meals last year. Also this past year, with tremendous foresight, determination, agility, and patience on the part of Rabbi Wexler, Jared Kaufman, and others, our congregation experimented with a new combined Hebrew high school program with Congregation Beth. This new Kesher program, augmenting TBS's Hamakom, brings together teens from our two congregations who, God willing, this year will finally go to Israel after 2 years of confirmation class trips being canceled due to COVID. And lastly, a few examples of congregants who have generously provided us resources to advance our legacy. Look down at your machzor. Thanks to the generosity of 10 families and many of you who have dedicated machzorim in honor or memory of loved ones, we purchased 2,000 copies of our new Machzor Lev Sholem, which we are using for the first time today and likely for at least a generation to come. And our very talented Alex Weinberg, who has about 200 people out in the parking lot as we speak under the tent, he created this truly amazing, creative, colorful, and engaging Machzor Sholom for use in our family services. Machzor Sholom was underwritten by Robin and Stephen Greenberg and Evie and Marvin Sellers, as well as many other congregants who have since dedicated copies. These families have created a legacy by providing us the tools we use to pray. And speaking of prayer, some congregants have provided us the means to enable us to pray and engage virtually. Funds donated by Susan Bass-Levin and Sue and Eric Balin defrayed the cost of upgrading our permanent live stream technologies in the sanctuary. Other congregants have built a legacy by helping provide resources to create important communal spaces for our TBS family. For example, Milton Emily Gottschalk generously contributed funds to reimagine and renovate our sukkah area. This expanded space, with its new amphitheater seating, is now used not only during Sukkot, but all year round for wine and cheese Shabbat, Kiddushim, receptions, school programs, and our Camp Keshet water play area. Einat and Adam Cohen generously contributed to create the Cohen Bagel Toddler Learning Center in our ECEC, as well as the new age-appropriate Zalman Bagel STEM Lab. Eileen Levinson funded the new beautifully landscaped reflection area outside the main entrance to our building in memory of her beloved husband, Roy Levinson, Zichrono Livracha. And Judy and Bernie Platten family made a generous contribution to dedicate our new interactive Yortzeit display board. We can now share stories and photos of our loved ones accessible right on the touch screen, allowing them to be remembered for generations in ways even more meaningful than just a Yortzeit plaque. And other congregants have created a legacy by enabling us the means to provide innovative programs to engage our whole community. For example, Galen Harvey and Allison and Mark Shapiro established the Shapiro Family Fund within the TBS endowment to support educational projects and initiatives. And another congregant is underwriting the Scholar in Residence weekend at TBS in January, when we will host here Arnold Eisen, the former chancellor of the Jewish Theological Seminary. We are profoundly grateful for those who have shared their ideas, their time and energies, and their resources to contribute to their legacies at TBS. These examples are just the tip of the iceberg, and please don't take offense if I failed to mention you. That's always the risk when we name names, but I wasn't allotted more time. I'm also not seeking re-election. Rather, I share these examples to illustrate that we can all create our individual and collective legacies through decisions and actions, big and small. Looking ahead this coming year, we literally will be charting our legacy as a congregation as we embark on a new strategic planning process. It's been almost 10 years since we undertook a TBS-wide strategic planning project, which culminated in a 5-year plan adopted by our board in 2014. Now, with a slight delay due to COVID, we have begun to undertake an update of this important work. And as we did 10 years ago, we have retained a strategic planning consultant to help guide us in this project. We're able to do all of this in large part thanks to a meaningful grant from a major Jewish philanthropic foundation based in New York. Of all the synagogues in this country, TBS was the only synagogue in which this foundation chose to invest as a test case for strategic planning. They chose us because of the strength, creativity, and reputation of our congregation and that of our incredible clergy and staff. This is yet another accomplishment of which we should all be proud. Later this year, we look forward to announcing opportunities for all congregants to provide input to our strategic planning, literally contributing to how our legacy evolves. I hope that as many of you as possible participate, adding your voices to critical conversations about how we can best engage all of our members and ensure our organizational and financial sustainability for generations to come. This is how, together, we chart our collective legacy. As we're here today, I ask you to consider, what do you want your legacy to be as a member of TBS? How can you get involved? Join a group or a committee, respond to a request for volunteers, take part in a virtual lunch and learn to study and learn with our clergy and other congregants. And of course, another important way you can build your own and our collective legacy is by making a pledge in support of our annual High Holy Day Appeal. Our annual appeal is a significant component of our fundraising goal each year. The funds raised through the appeal provide critical resources for much of what we do throughout the year, especially the innovative programming developed by our clergy and educational staff. While we certainly want to meet our goal, our overarching fundraising goal, even more important is your participation at whatever level you are comfortable. In 2020, when we had virtual-only High Holy Day services, approximately 55% of our congregants contributed to the annual appeal. Last year, participation increased to almost 65%. This year, the final year of my term as president, I am hoping that participation is as close as possible to 100%. We are already starting off this year's appeal with pledges from all the members of our board of directors, so now it's your turn. You have a few ways to make your pledge. For those of you here in person, once again, there's a pledge card with your name at your seat. Bend whatever tab or tabs you wish and leave the card in the envelope with us here today. I'll note that we did have great success last year from all of you who were here in person submitting pledge cards for your seating neighbors who were not here in person. So I would like to keep that going this year as well. In a moment, I'll ask our ushers and members of the board to circulate to collect the envelopes. If you want to make a pledge that you can't make with the tabs that are on the card, just take the card with you and you can return it to the office after Rosh Hashanah. And for those of you not here in person, if you're on the live stream or if you don't have a card at your seat, you can pledge easily on the TBS website after Rosh Hashanah. If you were not able to make a pledge last year, please consider contributing at any level so that our entire TBS community participates in some way. Let's all together as a community set an example for each other and do our part to strengthen our congregation and chart our legacy. And unlike the synagogue president who took to the links on Rosh Hashanah, the legacy we create together is one we will be proud to shout from the rooftops, post on Facebook and Twitter, and most importantly, to tell our children. On behalf of me and Stacy and the congregation's board of directors, I wish each and every one of you a Shana Tova U'Mituka, a good and sweet new year, and may it be a healthy one for each of you and your families. Shana Tova.